It's kind of strange how little I hear about Persona 5 Tactica. I mean, we're barely a month away from the game's launch, and people aren't really talking about it that much. And I think that's likely due to a myriad of things. But I guess it's kind of sad, maybe disappointing a little. But regardless, it is a little surprising to me that the big Persona 5 spin-off is not really being talked about all that much, even though there are good reasons for it.
Why am I inferior to you?
I guess the primary reason that Persona 5 Tactica really isn't being talked about that much is probably because less and less people are excited for it, and also Atlus is marketing this game in kind of a strange way. Now, to preface this, I'm not a marketing major. I've never studied marketing. I don't know what the statistics are, but I have a feeling that some of this stuff is a little strange when you look at it, at least from my perspective, or a consumer perspective even. And I think the main reason for it is because of Persona 3 Reload. Well, it's not the fault of Reload specifically, but really more how Atlus is marketing both of these games. At E3 2023, or whatever you want to call it this year, Summer Games Fest, Jeff Keighley's Big Summer Bash, whatever, Atlus announced 3 games: Persona 3 Reload, Persona 5 Tactica, and Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, Metaphor is kind of on another level of not being talked about, but I think that has more to do with the fact that it's not a pre-established IP, and it's also not coming out soon. I could list a bunch of other reasons, but those are the main ones. On the other hand, you have Persona 3 Reload and P5T, which are both coming out within the next 5 months. But here's the thing. People have been clamoring for a Persona 3 remake for years, probably since P5 launched, and people started playing P5 and P4, and they went back to P3, and doesn't really hold up, I guess. I mean, that's my opinion. I know there are plenty of people who actually like the game. But finally being able to see this remake in action and coming soon is a big thing. Meanwhile, Persona 5 Tactica, well, a lot of people can give or take another Persona 5 spinoff, let's be real. Announcing these two at the same time probably led a lot of people to forget that P5T really exists. And the fact that they said, here's the Persona 3 remake trailer, and then Persona 5 Tactica trailer came after that in the presentation is, I don't want to say telling, but it kind of is. Beyond the announcement, Persona 5 Tactica has gotten a bunch of trailers. Unfortunately, most of them are not really edited compilations that you'd expect from trailers, but instead are just gameplay details. That's not a bad thing, but you're really not pulling a lot of people in with that. P3 Reload has gotten multiple well-edited trailers both in Japanese and in English. Tactica, for some reason, has gotten 3 big trailers in Japanese and 1 in English, that being the announcement trailer. And of course, I'm not going to drop some bold statement like, oh, the marketing department has dropped the ball on this one, but I am going to say that it is kind of weird that the big trailers for P5T aren't being made for other languages. I know there's a difference between how games are marketed for Atlus in Japan and in the US, but it's a little weird. A little unfortunate, maybe. It also kind of doesn't really help that Atlus drops a trailer for P5T and then goes, here's another P3 Reload trailer, by the way. And on top of that, it doesn't help that sometimes they drop a P3 Reload trailer and then drop the P5T trailer like right after that. Doesn't really work for me, I guess. Anyways, on the side of marketing things, that's about it for Tactica. Forever overshadowed by the mainline, bigger, and much more anticipated Persona 3 Reload. But there is a little something else as well.
They're everywhere! The he-horde from hell!
I think another component, albeit not as large as people claim it is spin-off fatigue. Persona 5 spin-offs have kind of bludgeoned fans, at least once. Not really in their quantity, in my opinion, as much as it is the quality and the relevance to the story. Before spin-offs were all canonical. I've talked about canons and spin-offs for Persona a lot. Basically, P5 has like 1 canon spin-off and all the rest are, yeah, we're gonna forget this after it happens. Because we can't do anything about it. I think there's just a decent number of people who aren't interested in some kind of what-if memory wipe scenario spin-off. And you could have rectified this with the Repaint Your Heart DLC, but that takes place during Size Art, as far as we can tell. So, it's definitely more of the same thing. It's stuff people don't really care for. because it's not gonna matter. In a series where the story and the characters are so important, you can't just keep having memory wipe non-canon stuff. How is that gonna help your story? How is that gonna develop your characters? And you're also dealing with the fact that P5 spin-offs have not all been hits. In fact, the first one, Dancing, was not very good, and also very poorly timed. So people are kind of already unhappy with the spin-offs. You're not making very good impressions, Atlas. That aside, there are just a number of people who just aren't interested in spin-offs anymore. Tactica represents another cup of Persona 5 flavored milk, and some people are just not gonna have it. And I think that's fair, but it definitely does play into why Tactica is just not being talked about as much.
So, what's next? I suspect they're not interested in conversation.
Now, I wouldn't say that this is the case exactly. I think the game is just living in Persona 3's shadow. Tactica isn't some highly requested game, nor is this whole marketing thing that I've been talking about some kind of conspiracy that Atlas has made. I don't want to push any narrative like that. It's just the situation the game has been placed in. I don't really think it's that deep, and I'm not trying to make some kind of big statement here that, oh, you should be really into the Persona 5 spin-offs. No, you can like what you like and not like what you don't like. I'm just saying that it's kind of weird that Atlas markets this game this way, and no one's really talking about it that much. The cards are kind of being played against Tactica, whether intentional or not. Doesn't really matter. Even I've stated that I'm not especially excited for the game. I'm excited enough. But I've said multiple times that I wish this took place in a post-Strikers world. Why this takes place in between, we gotta put it in the middle of the winter before they graduate and before Joker leaves. Why? I don't know, but they did, and that's their decision. And then they said the DLC, we're just gonna put it during Sai's arc. You know, you're never gonna get an answer to the end of Royal. There are no answers there. You don't get anything. You can't have it, and you never will. Which sucks, but what can you do? But I hope this game pans out well and that it's an actual good game. Even if there is a memory wipe at the end, I'll still praise it as long as it has a good story to tell. And do you have any thoughts about Persona 5 Tactica? Excited? Uninterested? Underwhelmed? Hyped? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Persona, Atlas, and JRPG related. We've got a lot of stuff coming up at the end of this year, and I intend to make a video on at least 2 of those things, so if you're interested in that, I guess you could subscribe. I don't know. Maybe. It's up to you. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.